Good evening. So, got a little feedback there. Okay. Good evening. I would like to call this Planning Commission work session to order for Thursday, February 20th, 2025. My name is Brian Halbert, and I am the Vice Chair of the Clark County Planning Commission. Before we begin tonight, I would like to announce that our Planning Commission work sessions are hybrid, both in person and by way of WebEx. For the virtual and in-person members of the Planning Commission and staff, please ensure that your microphones are turned off and muted unless you are speaking. There will not be any public comment during this work session, but members of the public can watch or listen. This evening's agenda is planned as follows. So we'll have a comp plan policy, historic, archaeological, and cultural preservation hearing from our workshop from Bart Catchings, comp plan policy, economic development, chapter 9 from Oliver Oryenko, and comp plan policy, community design, chapter 11 from Oliver Oryenko. Then we'll take comments from the members of the Planning Commission and then adjourn. So if there's any other comments before we get started, we'll turn it over to, unless there's any other comments before we start. And Oliver, you usually like to
Yes,
jump in.
good evening, Planning Commission members. For the record, Oliver Oryenko, Community Planning Director. Just as I stressed the last work session, this is the beginning of the Planning Commission review of the draft edits, correction of Scrivener errors, providing rationale for where changes are proposed. And this will give you the opportunity to start an early review and give you also the opportunity to ask us questions, reach out to individual staff that are working on each chapter and let us know what your concerns are, if you have any. We will also be providing this draft out for the public, posting it on our website. There are about 15 or 17 chapters. We do not want to bring them all at once to you. So this will give you an opportunity to review them, 2 or 3 or 4 chapters at a work session. There may be some minor tweaks when we get to the final preferred land use plan. And then with that, we will see whether there is any additional policy directive from our council through the Planning Commission that needs to be added or further refined or clarified. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bart Catchings. The format that we have provided the Planning Commission is a table format, which we believe will be helpful to you as well as to the public. It shows the current policy, if there is a proposed change, and then the rationale or clarifying why the change is being proposed. I believe that format helps the Planning Commission staff as well as the public. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Bart. And this I may call the low-hanging fruits that we are bringing to you. At some point, you're going to be getting the climate bill, which will raise some new questions because the climate bill, for example, is new. We are required to do things that we haven't done before in both in greenhouse and then resilience element. And the way that that bill is written, new proposed changes will likely touch particularly the transportation, land use, and housing. So bear with us as we work with the committee. There are 2 committees that are working on the climate action plan or climate chapter. So we are going to be coming with you when they finally make a recommendation that needs to go public. So with that, I will take any question before we turn it over to Bud.
So this is Eldon. Do you have any schedule of when the climate stuff is going to be here? Does the task force have any deadline or?
No, I think they have a couple of more meetings, maybe 2 or 3. Jenna K in our shop, who you know, is the project staff working with the committee. So feel free to reach out to Jenna. But yes, and I know that the 2 technical advisory group, both on the greenhouse and on EJC, are working really hard to look at what the bill calls for. Often you hear me say, well, we are not doing this because the legislature said do X or Y. We are doing it because it's now the law. And our plan will have to find a way to comply with that. So it's a new area that we all have some learning curves. You hear me also say that whatever new policies or new ways we do things, some of that is going to be technology driven. Some of that are not, we don't know when they will come online, for example. But I will stop there. Jenna is working really hard, and I commend her in the work that she's doing to date. I think you will be quite impressed with the technical advisory group work, and you review it as well as the public, and then you'll be making a recommendation after reviewing it, asking questions. We will use the same format here. Some of the policies and strategies will be new because it will be a new element. You're welcome, sir.
Eldon, just jump in and say that they're good to listen to. Haven't caught all of them, but I've caught different pieces of them, and just to get a sense of where it's going. Usually Jeff sends out a invitation so you know when it's happening.
Yeah, thank you, Planning Commissioner Brian. Yes, the 2 groups meeting are open to the public. You can go in person, or you can watch also, or participate and listen in online. And they do have a moment for public comment.
Okay, well, without further ado, Bart Catching, planner, community planning. So I am starting this off with the review of a few proposed amendments to Chapter 8, the historic, archaeological, and cultural preservation element of the comp plan. I'm going to give a little bit of background just because you all may not have too much experience dealing with this chapter, because you wouldn't need to on a day-to-day basis. Myself and the other great planner in our office, Susan Ellinger, co-staff the Historic Preservation Commission. And so this chapter, although not part of our day-to-day work, kind of underlies the focus of the work that we do in conjunction with the cities. So you're all aware that we're updating the 20-year plan. I don't need to go into detail about that process. As Oliver said, there's right now 14 official chapters. We're probably going to have at least one more new chapter with the climate work. This is Chapter 8 that we're talking about. Why it's in the comp plan is that in the GMA, Goal 13 is historic preservation. It's been there since the very beginning of GMA, and it's been part of our comp plan since the original 94 plan. Goal 13 requires jurisdictions planning under the GMA to, quote, identify and encourage the preservation of land, sites, and structures that have historical or archaeological significance, end quote. Pretty simple, but pretty profound when you think about what that's asking county staff to do. So as with all of these chapters, our goal is not to tear them apart and rewrite them. Our goal is to look at them and make changes that are either necessary, like Oliver said, as Scrivener's errors, or changes in the law, or changes in the underlying conditions since the last 10-year update. And for historic, there's not too much, especially in the goals and policies themselves, which are the part that's operative, so to speak, when we actually do our work as planners. All the chapters have narrative kind of introduction preambles, and there are, going to be edits that you see that come through for those, but those aren't the core of what guides us in our planning work day to day. So the table that you're seeing is just the goals and policies, and that's the same for any of these chapters that you're looking at. So does anybody have any background questions before I go through the table about the historic chapter? Okay. Well, jumping to the table, and you're going to see a standardized format that Oliver and Jose have asked us to use going through all the chapters. So that's nice. Once you get used to looking at these tables, you'll be able to jump around pretty easily in any of the chapters that we bring forward to you. As you can see on the left-hand side, it's the existing language, and on the right-hand side, if there's any proposed amendments. So you can go down, see no change, no change. That is up for suggested is 8.1.1. It's a very simple, just little addition of language. Adds coordinate with DAP, the Washington State Department of Archaeological and Historic Preservation, to do the rest of the goal language, which is unchanged there. We suggested this language because generally the county itself doesn't manage the archaeological inventories and things like that. So I thought that this was more apropos for what happens with these sites. Jumping down to the next highlighted language on 8.1.3, the old language, or the current language, which we're suggesting to change, would be to strike the word nominate from the cultural resources to the local, state, and national registers. The way that the Historic Preservation Program and the Historic Preservation Commission that we staff actually operates, they don't generally spearhead the nominations. Every once in a while, the county on its own accord has a special situation like Heritage Farm or something where they do bring it forward. But most of the time, it's the nominations for the inventories, whether it's the local register or the other ones, are done by either the property owners themselves or nonprofits like the museum. So just felt like it's more appropriate to say facilitate, because most of the time the county doesn't do the nominations themselves. Jumping to the next page, the next suggested addition would be in 8.1.5 under 8.1 policies. Just adding the highlighted and underlined language, be after review of land use actions should be sensitive and give consideration to protection of cultural resources. And then the added language specifies while ensuring compliance with the county and city of Vancouver historic preservation ordinances. This is language that clarifies that we do have both for the county and with the city of Vancouver, which we co-manage with the city, this specific historic preservation language in our codes that we have to follow. And so if we don't do that, then we're not doing our job as planners, and the Historic Preservation Commission is not doing their job. So again, this is not language that has to be there, but I feel that it clarifies and expands on our role a little bit. And going to the final page of this table group, 8.3.2, This seems like a minor thing, but as a planner and a word nerd, identify on a regular, cross that out and put ongoing basis. To me, when we put regular in a code, that means that we are committing to something that happens on a set schedule. This is absolutely something that the Historic Preservation Program and the Commission works on. We're working on a project right now with updating our inventories and cleaning up old files. However, I feel like ongoing is more accurate because we do it when we need to do it. It's not like something that's set on a yearly annual schedule or something like that. And then finally, 8.4.2, again, it seems like a minor thing, but for somebody who has to look at these goals and sometimes defend the work we do or justify the work we do, I feel like putting the word support in front of just the operative adjective, the operative word of expansion there. It says expand the variety. That's well and good, but I feel like saying that we support the expansion of the variety of incentives because there are all kinds of incentives. Most of the incentives that we're engaged with have to do with tax programs that we don't administer ourselves or other grant programs through the state. The only direct incentive that is administered through our program is the one that Susan and I work on with the historical promotions grants. So I feel like saying that we support the work is more accurate to what we do on a day-to-day basis. Again, these seem like minor word changes, but this is stuff that feels like it cleans up a little bit. So happy to answer any questions or discuss anything else you guys see in the goals and policies.
May I just go down the list and go, and Eldon started off.
Is this working?
What you,
Yeah, I would try the other one, Eldon. I don't know.
Is it working now?
There you go. All right.
Eldon, so this might be nitpicking a little bit, but on 8.1.1,
Yeah.
in your rationale, you say DAHB is generally the lead agency. To me, that doesn't mean it's 100% the lead agency. But in the policy change, you say coordinate with DAHB. So it's like
Yeah.
has to go through DAHB.
DAP is generally because I'm aware of a few situations where our planners with critical areas could have such a minor archaeological site that maybe it wouldn't rise to the level of going to DAP, but I struggle to think of one at the moment. If you can think of a better way to word that, I'm all ears.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right now, it's saying 100% have to go through DAHB.
Oh, you're reading coordinate as we must
With
coordinate.
DAHB.
So we could coordinate as needed,
I
or
think that-
something like that. Sure.
If you think that there's ever going to be a time where they won't be the lead agency, you should probably put that in there.
My understanding, and I don't work those type of planning permits anymore, but if any significant cultural resources are found, DAP has to be made aware of it, even if it doesn't rise to the level where they will send their own folks down to look at a site. But I don't work those all the time. So
All right.
yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
Thanks.
Jack, you
Oh,
want to go
yeah.
next?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, just,
Yeah.
I'm kind of piggybacking on that. I just, because I know there's a difference between archaeological and historic and culturally significant. I mean, there's some kind of breakdowns to where something like over 50 years old, it triggers one thing, but if it's like an art, like a Native American artifact, that's a whole other
Sure.
level of stuff. So yeah, and I know certain things that you have to bring in DHAP, but even if we're like, yeah, I don't know. That was kind of my same kind of.
Yeah,
Thinking along.
it's interesting how things are divided out, and DAP is how we pronounce it when we're going fast, but DAHP. They are the keepers of the archaeological inventories, on a permanent basis. The local inventory, which is what controls any actual review authority that we have, is strictly within the county. And then the state register DAP also keeps that, which is totally separate from the county inventory. And then the National Register of Historic Places is through the Department of Interior. The state keeps the records because it's just belongs to our state. So, but archaeological is a much broader category, and covers anything back all the way back in prehistory. And so we don't deal with that in the Historic Preservation Commission, except on kind of broad policy questions, and we try to be supportive of that work. But what the Historic Preservation Commission reviews is this special type of review called a certificate of appropriateness, which can be thought of as like a planning permit for changes to a historic structure, or adding to the inventory if there's a new nomination. So that's the primary work that they do, and that is historical structures generally. We have a few sites that are more a physical area. One of the quarries is historic. There's a couple of cultural sites as well. So I hope, does that answer your question? Okay. And Oliver just pointed out, and I had it in my notes, I just blasted by it, on the regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission this month on the 5th, we presented this information to them, and they were appreciative and didn't have any comments or additions at that time. So we're just going through the steps.
Jeremy, are you with us?
I don't have any comments. No comment.
And is Mark Berthold online tonight? Okay, Mark's not with us. And maybe just one other word smithing piece in 8.1.3.
Yeah.
You said, facilitate nomination of historic. So you added historic here.
Yeah.
But you didn't add archaeological in there.
Yeah, we could add that specifically in when you look at the definition of cultural resources in the GMA, cultural resources covers all of it, including archaeological. But I think given what you're pointing out, that the rest of the document lists archaeological separately, it wouldn't hurt to do that. And I can easily add that with a little Oxford comma in there.
Yeah, certainly it wouldn't change how we
No.
view this to a high degree, but
No.
consistency. Maybe.
Yeah. Anything else you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions or comments, guys? Yeah, hearing none. Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Thank you all.
Okay, I think, thank you, Beth, and Planning Commission members. I think I'm up next on the Economic Development chapter. A little bit background. When this chapter was first drafted, we worked very closely with the Columbia River Economic Development Council. I was here when that was, we went through that process. I see Jennifer here. Jennifer wasn't the president at the time. The president was Bob Levin, for some folks that have been here longer. So we continue to share the chapter with the Columbia River Economic Development Council. As you can see, while economic development, land for jobs and opportunities to continue to work with recruitment, expansion, and retention of existing companies or industries in Clark County, you can see that all that is weaving into the economic element of our comprehensive plan. This is not addressing programs that CREDC may or may not have. This is just focusing on the county economic development element and encouraging economic opportunity and diversity throughout our community. So as is the case with the other chapters, you can see that this is also structured in terms of existing policies and goals that is now in place in terms of the existing plan that was adopted from 2015 to 2035. We are still in that. Of course, we are now going to 2045. You can see in, I believe, page 2 of 6, policy 9.1.11. The only change we are proposing there is to strike out employment center and leave that employment lands. The reason for that is that many of our local jurisdictions don't have employment centers. They have employment lands. And that, broadly speaking, covers the employment opportunity within their jurisdiction. When you say employment center, it looks like you have an area identified as your employment center, but they're all over the place, as you may imagine. But that's why we made that recommendation. And I know that the president of the Columbia River Economic Development Council, Jennifer, you asked us for clarification and we provided that. I hope that was satisfactory, but that's why we made the change, just to be comprehensive in terms of where we have our employment lands, not employment centers. At some point in the past, we talked about employment or industrial sanctuaries. We don't have that here in Clark County, too. So in a sense, this covers where we have our industrial and other employment lands. So that's the reason for that strikeout. In policy 9.1.11, I think it's more of just numbering, nothing more change there. And when you get to page 4 of 6, we are also recommending just to, you can see, to delete this particular policy. It is redundant when you look at the 9.1.11. So if you read 9.1.11 above, it is very similar policy. So we're recommending that this particular policy be deleted, and that is what changed the numbering, if you will. All the other policies remain the same. Like I stated earlier, by the time we have the preferred alternative plan and through your recommendation and up to council, if that warrants any further changes to this chapter, we will make those changes. But that's really the very short text changes that we're recommending. And I will stop there and take questions that you may have.
Go for it, Eldon.
I'm confused. On the page 2, you're going to change from 9.1 to, well, you're going to change 9.1.12 to 11. Why? You already have a 9.11, 9.1.11.
But if you go to 9.3.4, we are asking that that be deleted because it's redundant to 9.1.11. So I believe that that will change the numbering sequences
No, no, it would change it afterwards.
afterwards.
Yeah.
It's the last in the nine, it's the last in the nines.
Okay. Yeah, all right, we'll make that catch, okay? In terms of our numbering.
Thank you. I was really scratching my head on that one.
Some people do better on math, but I understand it, but thank you very much for the catch. See? That's why it's better to have multiple eyes looking at this. Thank you, sir.
Jack, any other questions? Jeremy? Jeremy's shaking his head no. I don't have any other questions either. I should ask Oliver, you mentioned Jennifer and CRDC. Were these changes coordinated with them, and is the CRDC on board with this?
I will say yes, and I'm glad Jennifer is here. We did provide the copy to her and provide opportunity for any comment, anything that stands out or what else we need to add. But this is preliminary. Like I said, I don't know what the final adopted preferred plan will look like and whether that will warrant additional changes. We will share that with CRADC. And we are sharing this as well, making it available with our local jurisdictions so that they're also on board because some of these are county-wide planning policies.
Yeah, thanks. Any other questions on this one? If not, Oliver, can you lead us through Chapter 11, Community Design?
Yes, this chapter was also worked on, like Bart indicated, one of great planners, Susan Ellinger. Unfortunately, she has some family matters that she's dealing with. So there are no changes proposed on our community design at all. So it's just formalities acknowledging that we are not proposing any changes to the community design. Plus, we don't have a community design review team, if you will, but it's just to have it for whatever is what. In the past, I've been asked the question, for some of you that are very familiar with Clark County, why is it that on the east side, all the buildings out there are done with bricks? But on the west side, what's happening? And I said, well, I don't have any answer for you because we don't have a design standards, but it's the same developers. If they build with bricks on the east side, ask them to build with bricks on the west side. Anyway, just commentary, but we do not have a design standard. No proposed changes. Some of the things we do, we look at our landscaping table and make a recommendation that whether it's commercial or industrial development or apartment to follow the landscape standard, for example. But we don't have a design review committee as you have in other jurisdictions. I know they have it in the city of Portland and other areas.
Any questions on this? You want to start with you, Eldon? Can you make some up? Jack? Yeah, and Jeremy? Shaking his head no. No questions for me either.
Okay, those are the three chapters that we have this evening. We know it was going to be a short meeting, but this provides you opportunity again to review this in advance, flag things we may have omitted. I tell my staff too that it's better to share this internally, and one individual will catch something the other doesn't catch. So, but here we are. We want to share this with you. And like I said, we're going to be posting it on our website, making it available to give the public advance opportunity to start looking at this. And hopefully, rather than providing you a big notebook at the end, you know, I've done that in the past and it wasn't very helpful. Some would just drop it and said, I have no time to look at this. But we do this just as a way to give you opportunity to look at them at a much smaller scale. And again, if you have questions, we have individual planners that are working on this, and I call them my experts. So thank you.
So Oliver, any updates on an additional planning commissioner?
Thank you, Planning Commissioner Albert. The council, as I mentioned last time, will conduct their interview on the 25th, which is, I believe, next Tuesday, if not, yeah, next Wednesday, one of those days. Yeah, so we will know after that interview who your new addition will be.
Any update on what we should expect at our next work session? What chapters are we going for?
I'm working with staff to who are working on various chapters to see whether they're ready to the Planning Commission and the public to see that. So we will work with Jeff to send you the advanced copies when they become available. And if we are not able to get ready, we will perhaps let you know that we will postpone the next work session so that we are ready to present something for you.
So Oliver, are you still on time? You know, you gave us that long timeline last meeting 2 weeks ago for the comp plan stuff. Are you still on time?
Oliver is laughing, and I am sticking with that. I just hope that our local jurisdiction and our council will. There are moving parts, but I can assure you that our consultant, our seeking information, trying to make sure we are on track. I can tell you that we have already moved the goalpost for our environmental consultant. The scope of work didn't change. We just moved when they will publish the draft EIS. So I'm sticking with that because we don't have any leeway to ask for more extension. You know, when we had, like when we started this, as I shared with you, the project initiation, we started that in 2022. You know, and then we, at that time, we were supposed to complete by June of 2025. We got the extension to 6 months, which we didn't oppose. We were all excited, but here we are. You know, every opportunity I get, I remind the council that it took quite some time for the council to make a decision on population to plan for. No fault of theirs. They were just asking questions and trying to understand the forecasting, if you will. We had to bring some staff from the State Office of Financial Management to come down here and explain to them about their methodology and how they do their forecasting and so forth. And we are a border county, as you know. So immigration is what is really fueling our growth. So all those were considered. I don't fault them for that, but it took some time. And the same was true when we were going through the allocation process, which you participated in. The cities took some time before they get to what is their alternative that they're submitting to us. So all that time, I wish I can get them back, but we are working to keep that timeline as firm as it can be. Otherwise, if we don't, I know our legal counsel is here, he would tell me that both the county and all the cities within the county will be out of compliance because of our inability to meet the timeline. But I don't want to put the county in that box. Thank you, sir. We are working hard, really. We are.
Eldon, are you
working
trying to
hard.
provoke her? Chris has been quiet the entire night. Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, this is Jack Haroon. Just a comment on, when we have a short evening like this, if it's helpful for you and your staff to like stack, like we could have easily done another 3 chapters this evening. If you needed to, I'm, on board, and I'm, depending on the other commissioners. And even if it just eliminates a Thursday night from our schedule, I would rather go longer than than more.
I concur with you. Please bear with me. My staff, folks don't see what they work on. They are super busy on other projects. This is something that I have also stuck or put on their plate. So Bad, who is here, he manages the historical preservation. They have to prepare for the meeting and attend to the group. I have other staff that are managing the bike and pedestrian. I have folks that are managing the Commission on Aging, school advisory, and the housing. Yeah, I hear you, and I'm willing to get this through as quickly as I can. I am with you there. So as I mentioned, putting pressure on staff to work on this, and of course it has to be reviewed internally before it goes out. So yeah, we'll do our best to see if we can bring you more than 3 chapters at one of your work sessions. Yeah.
Along that lines, Oliver, you mentioned, I think we have 17 current chapters going to 18 chapters. How many have we made it through at this point? Or is this have we done 6 of 18?
I think we've done like 7. I think we did 4 last work session, and today 3. So that's 7. You got maybe less than 10 more to go. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
And some of this, as you know, you won't have the capital facilities. We can let you know what that will look like, but that would be, the major work on that would be driven on the preferred plan. Yeah. So that is going to take longer. The housing, we are still making progress on now that we are in phase 2 of the implementation of the HOSAP studies. So there are parallel code work that is being done before we can also make sure that the policies and the development code are consistent. You're seeing them at once. So those type of changes are what we are taking us back. And of course, you have the climate, which touches on transportation and other chapters. We just hired a consultant. I appreciate the council approving the contract to bring DKS to help us work on the transportation chapter. So that's what is also delaying some of those chapters coming before you. Yeah. We'll do our best to get them as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Jeremy, you good?
Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I would piggyback on the comment that Jack made. Like, obviously, you guys are getting us the chapters as fast as you can. The ones that are going to require more dialogue, I just would hope that we leave enough time for those that aren't being, like, if there's substantive changes going on in these chapters. I would like to have ample time for, like, these ones didn't take, there's hardly any changes, right? And so we could go through, 10 of these, but the ones that there's a lot of dialogue that needs to happen. I just want to make sure that we don't stack too much on those chapters. And so it gives us enough time to go back and forth. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Jeremy. Any other comments, questions? Excuse me? Mark is online. Okay. Hey, Mark. I'm not sure where you came in, but just want to open it up to you for any questions or comments. Mark, we're not hearing from you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Let's see. Can't hear me? Okay. Let me see.
We have you, Mark.
Oh, you do? Okay. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry.
Okay, and nothing else? I'd say it's time to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.